All right, everyone, it is time to talk about one of the most important things in the entire game, which is speed running your mythic weapon as fast as possible. And as you can see from my account, I am not at a mythic level weapon, and I'm pretty far away from it still. And that's partially because I made a bunch of mistakes in my earlier running of the game that I think could have helped out a ton. And I kind of wanted to share with you just a few different things to think about as you're running along with trying to get your mythic weapon as fast as possible. And there's one pretty big trap that I think a lot of people fall for, and I don't think it is worth it pretty much at all. And we'll get to that later. But mythic weapon, why do we even care about it? Well, the mythic weapon effect is extremely powerful, and it oftentimes kind of hallmarks the start of your mid to late game progression. Because what I would recommend, and if you had watched my free-to-play progression video, then you should be going for the Angel Bow. The Angel Bow is an amazing progression weapon. It's going to help you boost up your chapter progress, your dungeon progress, etc. And then as soon as you get that mythic weapon, you'll take that Angel Bow and you'll turn it into whatever option you want. Now, with the new double S rank weapons, well, there could be some amazing ones that you want to transition into. But for right now, it's oftentimes Sky Splitter, Whisper, or Reaper Staff are the top three. Once you do so, well, each one of those has an amazing mythic effect. Take Whisper as an example here, massively increasing your weapon crit rate and crit damage for a massive damage increase. For the Sky Splitter, it's going to massively increase your sword chi ability, and for the Reaper Staff, just to massively increase your death bolt options. It is just super, super powerful, okay? So, we need to get to mythic as fast as possible. It's also just going to increase our overall stats, right? How do we do it? Well, there's a lot of parts. There's a lot of moving parts for getting a mythic weapon. There's just a lot of, well, resources that you need. Let me pull up a chart for you. Behind me, you'll see a chart of the incomplete breakdown of not only the duplicates that you would need of your S rank weapon, but also the fodder pieces that you need. As you can see, if I zoom in here, if we look at the just getting a weapon to legendary, you're going to need 3 duplicate copies of whatever weapon you need and 21 fodder pieces. As you can see, the upgrade path is you need 2 + 2 duplicates after you've already gotten your initial +2 weapon in order to bring it to legendary. And as we scroll down, you'll see, well, legendary doesn't just have the +2, it also has +3. So in order to get from +2 to +3, you need a duplicate legendary copy of your S rank weapon, which, guess what, requires the 3 copies of your S rank weapon to get to. Okay, well, not only do you need that, but also in order to go from, well, the +3 legendary weapon that you have, in order to go to mythic, you need 2 duplicates of the +3. Well, as we just spoke about, the +2 weapons require 6 copies, which means total, or in order to go to +3, you need 6 copies, including a +2 of your legendary weapon and another legendary duplicate. That means that you need 18 copies of whatever weapon you're trying to bring, as well as 126 fodder options. That's incredibly expensive. Now, in my experience, and if you've been playing a lot of the events, as well as what at least the developers have been offering in terms of rewards, the actual duplicates of the weapon are going to be the easier part of this. It's the fodder that can be a little bit tricky. And honestly, I have had such an experience with acquiring fodder that I've been able to completely start summoning on different banners, which, again, because I'm not someone who is on the Angel Bow banner, I'm summoning on 2 separate ones, the Whisperer banner and the Bloody Grail banner. I've been able to completely just summon on the Bloody Grail banner without stalling my progression too much because, well, I need the fodder. So how do we really get everything prepared? Well, the number one thing is, of course, playing the game. There's no substitution for just playing the game actively, making sure you're using your resources. But one of the things you really need to play around are these events that come around about every week to week and a half to 2 weeks. In this case, it's the Passionate Bingo. We have the fishing event. We have the little egg event. We have the what's it called? The deep sea dive. I forget the names of some of these events. Regardless, they all have a very similar shop, and most of them are going to have an S rank weapon selection box. Remember, we need 18 copies. If you think about what the timeline of an mythic weapon for a free-to-play player would be, you're looking at the 4 to 7 to 8 month range is usually the average, and that could be pretty crazy, mainly because it depends again on how people utilize their resources. I'm not sure what the fastest speed run is, but I know that's about the timeline for it. If, let's say, we're getting a new event every 2 weeks and we're looking at 4 months, let's say the shortest amount of time, that is 8 different events. And let's say 6 of the 8 events have a weapon selection box, just to be a little bit conservative here. That is 6 copies default just from getting the weapon selection boxes. That's a ton. That's going to be a third of your overall progression. Remember, this also can have a bunch of legendary keys, and this is going to be your main source of getting gear and copies of your S rank weapons. These are going to be your main priority. If you go back into the banner section here, not only are you going to be summoning on the equipment banner, again, if you're following the free-to-play progression guide, you're going to be getting Angel Bow, Bloody Grails, and Judgment Rings. But every 180 pulls, you're going to be able to pick a choice of one of the current up equipments, which means you could pick a copy of your S rank weapon if you're looking for that. This means by the time you go through the 4 months, I think I've opened this chest like 4 or 5 times at this point. Well, maybe not that, maybe 3 or 4 times, which means you can use all of those on your weapon. Boom. You're looking at 9 to 10 copies of your S-Rank weapon before we even consider getting copies of the ones in the banner. And let's say we're opening up, let's say 4 chests, that's 180 pulls, which means 4 times 180, that's going to put you really, really deep into the amount of options. That's 720 different pulls. We divide that by 60. I know this is crazy math and all. That is 12 different pulls on the banner. So in theory, you should be getting 2 separate copies of your S rank weapon. That puts you at 12 to 13, and that's beside any other opportunity to pick up more S rank weapons, which there are, including things like, well, other events that have S rank weapons, gifts that they're throwing out, etc. If you're fully utilizing everything on that S rank weapon that you're looking for, you're going to be able to gather enough copies generally throughout your time picking up all the fodder. And that's 4 months. That's like extremely fast. Because remember, during that time, if we look at the actual rate of the equipment, you still need the epic level equipment. And in order to get the epic level equipment, it's got a 3% rate. So let's say you've summoned 720 pulls. You're looking at, well, 7 times 3%. It's going to give you 21 epics. That's it. That's the probability without the guaranteed rate, of course. So there is a guaranteed, so actually kind of changes it a little bit, but we're looking at 21 different equipment pulls for epic level. You're also getting 9% rares, which would equate to, well, 3 times this, and it does require 3 rare ones to create an epic level piece of gear. But remember, not all those are weapons. So if you really do some math here, and I'm sure I could pull together all the percentages here, we're looking at a very small portion of the gear you're pulling actually being gear pieces or weapon pieces for you. Of course, we still have the hero supply crate, which is going to give us access to additional epic grade and rare grade weapons and gear, and also the adventurer supply crate, which eventually will turn into epic level pieces of gear. So as you can see, the major bottleneck is fodder. Again, if we just were to take the legendary keys and we were to assume all of the 9% and 3% were all weapons, which is a crazy thing to think about, we're looking at like 50 to 60 total pulls by the time you've acquired 12 to 13 S rank copies, right? That's very much a disproportional amount of S rank copies over the gear pieces, because again, you need 126 gear pieces as well as 18 copies. So we have more S rank weapon copies, so it's not the bottleneck. That said, you should spend every single time that you have an opportunity to, including things like the black market growth section, including the magic trial section, to be picking up any keys that you see. Okay, that's what you should be using. Gems, that's what you should be using, your extra resources or your event resources, especially something like the Passionate Bingo. You could be picking up the keys from here as well, which are going to help you pick up gear pieces. This is all going to streamline your progression. Just make sure you're picking up gear pieces. Again, the S rank weapons are going to come. It's the actual fodder that you're looking for. So we're going to need a lot of copies, okay? We're going to need a lot of copies. It's going to take a long time. Now, one of the ways that people usually default to getting some of the cheat codes to getting more copies is actually utilizing the treasure team event. Now, this is kind of interesting, and I would have to do the exact math on that, but I'm going to give you a couple of numbers here to really focus in on. The Universal Crystal Box is part of the treasure team. It's very similar to the Big Adventure or the Mystic Sea, where you're able to acquire Dragon Girl. So it's going to cost you a lot of gems. And most of the time, free-to-play players are not going to be able to utilize their gems on events, as well as, you know, Big Adventure and treasure team and Mystic Sea. They're not going to be able to do it all, unless you're playing very consistently and you're not spending too much on like the random events that come around every 2 weeks. So in order to get the treasure team pity, you need 300 copies of your compasses. In order to buy compasses, it costs 3,200 gems. So in order to get 300, it's going to cost you 96,000 gems, which is an incredible amount. In order for your reward, in order to progress your mythic weapon as fast as possible, you're going to get a legendary weapon crystal, which replaces one legendary weapon. Now, what does that equate to? Well, one legendary weapon is, well, 9 fodder copies and 3 S rank weapons. That's what it equates to. But let me show you something. How much does it cost to get that? Well, I think we said earlier, 96,000 gems. In order to do a 10 pull with your legendary keys, it costs 2,900 gems. So we're looking at about 32 different 10 pulls for your keys, which means 320 total pulls, which gives you access to essentially almost 2 guaranteed boxes from the banners, right? The choosing of the S rank weapons. So almost 2 guaranteed. And then again, you're still going to be able to pull 6 different times on the banner, which means you're probably getting one of the S rank weapons that you actually want. Of course, this doesn't necessarily work like that all the time, but you're going to be able to get a lot more S rank pieces of gear at large, and you're still getting a bunch of fodder. Remember, 3% for epic gear, 9% for rare gear. If we were to combine that, that essentially equates to 6% for epic gear. We have a portion of that that's weapons, so you're expecting about like 2% or so. That means that out of those 320 pulls, you're getting access to maybe about 6 to 7 epic pieces of gear. So you're getting a little bit less epic pieces of gear, a little bit less specific S rank pieces of gear, but you're getting that universal crystal. However, on top of all that, you're getting way more rings, you're getting way more armor pieces, you're getting way more access to other S rank pieces of gear, you're getting way more value. So while this is something that can speed run, and this is a video saying the fast way to get your mythic weapon, this is a way to very specifically focus in on specifically getting your mythic weapon to your mythic weapon. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it because it's going to actually cost you more in overall account progression to go for this weapon crystal than otherwise doing something else. And again, it's not going to give you a massive bonus where you can get it months in advance. We're talking about like maybe a couple weeks, and that's at best. And when you're talking about 4 or 5 month time frame, a couple weeks isn't really that crazy of a difference. So just something to think about, especially if you're going for the treasure team. Remember, those gems that you spent on weapon crystals, well, you could have spent on legendary keys to get more progression, or you could just not do either one of those and just spend your gems on the treasure team to get the Arcana. So this is where, okay, you can get your mythic weapon fast, but there are different ways to do it. You can just keep progressing and buy all the keys up when they're good deals, not sacrifice your gems for specifically going all in and just dumping them all into legendary keys, but taking advantage of good events with your gems and doing smart decisions with gem spending. Or you can go the middle ground, which is, well, I still want to progress, but I want to get my weapon faster. I'm going to spend all my gems on legendary keys. Or you can go all in. I want to spend all my gems on the treasure team to get this weapon crystal so that I can get my mythic weapon as fast as possible. I think the first suggestion, which is don't actually spend all your gems on legendary keys, don't spend your gems on all the treasure team upgrades, and go for, you know, the big adventures, the treasure team for Arcanas, the events that pop up. Overall progression is going to generally give you a little bit more value for your account in the long run, which is why it oftentimes takes anywhere from 4 to 6 to 7, 8 months for free-to-play players to get their mythic weapon, because it's not necessarily super efficient to extremely hard focus on your mythic weapon. And this is something that I just wanted to put in here as, yes, you could absolutely go faster, but something that's, while it is a very big bonus, something that's really important to remember is a lot of the times free-to-play player progression comes around with, or rather comes with, really effectively managing your resources. That's the ultimate goal. And rushing it, well, again, it should be a focus. It shouldn't be your only thing you're thinking about. And that's something to keep in mind. So hopefully that helps on how to get a mythic weapon fast. Again, I gave you a couple options. You're welcome to choose as much as you want. And to be honest, guys, have fun. If you want to get a mythic weapon, just get a mythic weapon. Ignore what I said. Who cares? Who cares about progressing? Who cares about getting rings? Get your mythic weapon. Have some fun. Maybe you're using Angel Bolt right now. You really want to transition over to your Sky Splitter or whatever, and this is the fastest way to do it. Then do it. That's just going to be a lot of fun for you. So, well, yes, it is partially about efficiency and getting the most value out of your account. The other part is it's about having fun. And if getting a mythic weapon is fast as possible is fun for you, then do it. Go for that universal crystal. Utilize that for your fodder. Hopefully you would have gotten maybe unlucky on your legendary keys, because if you do get lucky with the legendary keys, you can get more fodder than the universal crystal would have given you. But that's just something to think about, right? Thanks for watching, everyone. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. And if you guys have any other tips to really, really progress in terms of your mythic weapon, let me know in the comments section down below, and I'll see you all for the next one.